Hello, this is Hamilton T. Casas, together with a new segment for me, and that's going to be kind of a how-to. Now, of course, I'm not really I guess I wouldn't really call it too much of a tutorial since I'm probably not going to build much, but I am going to go ahead and show off some timers, and I've been working on, for my next Let's Play, just kind of some timers to work with it. Now, keep in mind, in my Let's Play world, I am in the era of power tools, and so therefore I'm limited. I can't do nice things like buddy blocks and block detectors or block dispensers, but just going back, I want to take a look at what can I do, what is there available. So first we have to start off with, say, vanilla Minecraft items. So for instance, if I have redstone, and of course I could put some torches down, and then of course that lights a redstone, and then if I want to delay that redstone a little bit, I can throw in a repeater, and then we can adjust the delay from 1 to 4 ticks. And then of course we can take that line out of the repeater and, say, loop it back on itself to where it is actually feeding the line it let out. Now the problem with this is that, of course, I can't, if I put something in, of course it's going to light up the whole thing, and now I've got a steady stream in there. So there has to be a little bit of pulse control and a few other ways to mess with the timing. Now this is, of course, the basis of some of your simpler items. So over here in this creative world, so I might as well fly over there, I have created a few examples. Now this is the most simple. Before you even get into redstone repeaters, it's multiple torches. Now it has to be an odd number of torches so that it cycles around, and it's about 3 to 4 ticks in length. But if I turn off this one, it starts going. This torch feeds into this block, which converts into that torch, which converts into that torch, and we have a running. So you have to have an odd number of torches. And if I wanted to, I could, say, shut off this and turn on that. Oops. And then it becomes 5 torches instead of 3, and as you see, it's slowed down because the loop is a little bit more. The problem with these is that torches still, even at 5 torches or more, it becomes a little bit cumbersome to make larger timers, and also the fact that occasionally redstone might glitch on load and unload, although it doesn't that much anymore. And so we move on into the non-burnout, which is where we have the redstone repeaters, and this is again the same thing I just built over there. A 1 tick delay going that way and a 1 tick delay going this way. And this is just simply my on-off switch to cut it off. So the signal will loop around there. The problem is, if the signal is longer than 1 tick, then it'll just be a solid on, because this only allows 2 ticks. 1 tick on and 1 tick there. So it's 2 ticks per cycle, and that has to be 1 tick on, 1 tick off, which is the slowest you can do. This is a 1 tick pulse limiter. It works because when I push this button, it'll charge this or power this block, which will unpower this redstone, which will of course cut this off. But in doing so, it's also going to power the block through this repeater, but with a little bit of a delay. This is a delay of 1, and then we add another one for this repeater here. Well, this is a delay of 3. So we have 2 and 3, so once it goes through, there's going to be 1 tick worth of power left, or the trailing end of a 1 tick pulse, which gets pushed out there. And then a 1 tick pulse into a 2 tick loop gives you 1 tick on, 1 tick off, which is kind of noisy. And there's a slight phenomenon with the 1 tick pulse that, oh my god, that's noisy, that it will go ahead and kind of release or grab on a sticky piston. Now, one thing that has been changed is pistons take a single tick to push out and retract, And that kind of affected the use of this timer, which is simply a piston timer. We have a signal. Right now the signal is just keeping the piston on, but the piston pushes forward this block, and underneath the block is a redstone torch, which is of course powering that block, which is powering this redstone line, which is powering this light block and piston. Coming over to here, it comes through this single tick delay and into that piston there. Now when I turn it off, it's a slightly slower tick. It's fairly constant, but it's a little bit more reliable than this next one, but it does keep good time. Pistons are known to jam or glitch every once in a while, and the repeater is necessary, because if I didn't have that, then it would be a 2-tick delay in there. It'd actually be a 1-tick pulse in there, and redstone torches don't like dealing with too many 1-tick pulses, so it burns out, and in a moment it'll start back up. But that's why we put the repeater in there. And of course you can adjust the speed of and timing of it by adjusting the timing on the repeater, or more repeaters. So that's your piston timer. Now all of these timers are capable of being done in vanilla Minecraft. This is another one. It's probably not the most reliable timer, and sometimes it doesn't want to go, like this time. It's simply a minecart running around in circles, being accelerated by a single powered track and running over detector tracks. And we can stop it by, of course, turning off the powered minecart. This over here is a bio timer, minus the cow. Go away. The cow is from the other bio timer over there. This bio timer works on the concept of sugar cane, and when the sugar cane goes, it's going to trigger this bud switch. Now the way this bud switch works is it's not as compact as a buddy block, but we have a constant power to this piston, which should be pushing these two blocks out, but it's not, because when this block was powered on, this block was extended, or this piston was extended, keeping it from powering out. As soon as something happens near it, triggering a block update, it realized that it should extend, and it will. Now, of course, once it extends, that will allow this piston to trigger, because the line that's being triggered now, of course, we have this redstone torch underneath it, that of course allows this block to power that, and when it's pushed the glass block, so it no longer transmits the power, which would mean this block is no longer powered, allowing that torch to come on, extending that one, and the delays are set so that this one will lose power before, or actually this one will gain power before this one loses power. In other words, this will retract after this block gets powered. Now the other part of this was, okay, that the growth triggers the block, and then of course this goes out. We have a pulse extender so that we can extend it out till the sugar cane is broken, and going into a 1-tick pulse so that it will trigger this. I'm not quite sure if I need this. This was kind of from another design from a bio timer using block detectors. I'm not sure if I really need that. I'm going to work with this a little bit more and see if I can't compact it a little bit more. But then I'm going to go ahead and put it in my first village in the Let's Play world. Alright, so all of these that are sitting on the sponges are vanilla Minecraft. You could do these without Better Than Wolves, and very commonly done so. Now let's look at some of the Better Than Wolves timers. Now the most common one most of the time is the turntable back there, and that's if you're at the age of power tools. But what if you're not quite there? There's also the chance or the challenge of making a long timer. Now all of these are short timers, quick blast, and they're very good for that, except for the burnout factor. But long timers do something like 5 minutes until we feed a cow, or allowing time for certain things to happen would take a lot of repeaters in a row. It's about 4 ticks per repeater, a couple seconds. Well, I think it's 2 ticks per second. Not entirely certain on that. Oops. I poked a hole in my companion cubes. Put that back. There we go. Alright. But this is kind of a timer for going up and down. I'm thinking this might be a really neat idea for elevators that have to go up and down, or anything that requires a long timing. For instance, my sky farm, if I wanted time feeding my cows until I get the breeding harnesses to do that over there. As you can see, the 2 platforms alternate going up and down because I have a signal, and it's inverted before it goes to the 2 gearboxes powering the pulleys. And once one gets up, it actually allows a signal to come through from these torches into this RS latch. And the RS latch simply works under the principle that we have 2 torches, or we have a 2-torch loop. And that's kind of a stable loop, but anytime you put a signal into one side or the other, that side becomes the new on. So we force this one on, and then we force this one on, and we set and reset it, turning it on and off, causing these to go up and down. This means the control circuitry is all at the top, and I can have this set at the top of my sky elevator, and granted it does take a couple of minutes to go up and down, and I can use those couple of minutes, or even if I get it so large that it's 5 minutes to go up and down, then I can feed the livestock that way. And it also gives me a nice handy way to go up and down without climbing the ladders, though the ladders are faster, and diving off the top of the platform is always faster down. I have this one powered by a windmill because everything in here is capable of being made before you achieve the saw blade. In other words, the age of mechanical power, as opposed to the age of power tools, where you now have the ability to make a water wheel. Now in this case, I have the water wheel running some turntables. And these turntables are daisy-chained to get some really extended timing out of it. And at first I thought it had to go, okay, this one was 4 ticks, and then this one would 3, that one would be 2, and that one would be 2. But I found out that it's 4 ticks, and then 3, 3, 3, and it'll probably continue on to the point where, because for every gearbox you go through, you lose 1 tick of mechanical power time in your mechanical pulse. So eventually, probably about 4 or 8, I haven't experimented yet. I may experiment more, I may stay with this, because this is a relatively long timer that you can run through. And I might actually go ahead and record from me standing up here. You can see, or flying up here, you can see this one going round and round. And every time this one moves from this forward position to the side position, this one moves over. And the same thing when this one goes from here to here, this one will move over. So what I have is a base 4 counting system with 4 digits, which means that the possibilities here are 4 to the 4th power, and that's how many 8-tick, or I think it's 8-tick cycles from this turntable it is until this one actually goes around a full cycle, which is kind of a neat concept if you want, again, a long timer, such as a day or longer. And it probably takes up less space than a huge timer would with this. Now over here was an early biotimer, a cow breeding biotimer. And it's very simple. The only thing really used in Better Than Wolves are things that are kind of available right away. That is, as long as you have the ability to scour leather so that you can tan it and make the breeding harnesses, which is quite a bit of leather, really. quite a big cow killing spree until you get to automatically kill cows. Unfortunately, looks like I do have a slight bug in here where either somehow the cows are not getting fed right, but when the young cow comes in or starts escaping and jumping out, they step on this pressure plate and feed the parents. And then of course they fall through the vines, and in my real world that would go to their death. In this world they fall into the water to swim around and wander up on these platforms and other inventions. So these are just some different timers that you can use if you are not all the way to the new age and don't have the fun things like detector blocks or the nice compact buddy blocks. Always remember that you still have some of the vanilla things that you can work with, including the large block update detectors. Like I said, not as clean as the buddy blocks, but they're going to work. And I think I'm going to use this in the first village to trigger the farms and the other items and the feeding of the pigs in that farm. And I might go ahead and try to use something like this once I get the breeding together so that I can feed the cows. Just a quick look at this one. The pressure plate is on this solid block, which has 2 redstone torches popping out of it. Above those redstone torches are a block that get powered by that redstone torches, which means it's inverted twice. Just a way to carry it up. And the reason I kind of did it that way is to place the dispensers so that they fling the wheat, and also so that it's a little bit easier to hide the redstone if you really want to. You can block off or use siding around the sides there, but either way it's still kind of symmetrical when it fires one at each one. The fences are kind of high to make sure it doesn't fire it off. The blocks, I have 1.5 blocks here so that to make sure that the wheat fires over them and into the pen. I think that's been what's been happening recently. I may have to move it up another block or use some other method to power the block dispensers, or move them closer. Maybe have them powered over here, or move them to this block over here instead of the half blocks. But then I'm afraid they might get stuck here. The other thing I could do is probably increase the size of the pen so that the wheat may actually land on this one, and if it does, they'll eat it. But I've also seen them pick it up if it lands outside. I think the problem would be if it lands in the small trench, because that would be too far away for them. But it does time. The calves will come out. Once they grow up, they'll jump up, fire off the pressure plate, and make food. All in all, I think this is probably my favorite one here, just because of the look of it. It almost has this look of feet going up and down. But different timers, different purposes. I'll take some of what I've learned here and use it in my Let's Play, and then I'll see you later to show it off.